In the heart of the Caribbean, between warm blue seas and slow-moving tropical winds, lies an island that feels suspended between the past and the present. This is Cuba, a place where time does not move like it does elsewhere, and where life follows its own rhythm. When you first arrive in Havana, what stands out is not luxury or modernity, but atmosphere. The city breathes through its colors. Buildings painted in soft blues, faded yellows, and worn pastels, each carrying the marks of time. Classic cars from the 1950s glide through the streets, not as relics, but as living tools of daily survival. Everything feels alive, yet unhurried, as if the city itself has chosen not to rush forward. Those vintage cars are more than just visual icons. They represent a deeper reality. In a place where access to new goods has long been limited, people rely on preservation rather than replacement. Engines are rebuilt with creativity, spare parts are improvised, and solutions are often invented rather than purchased. This culture of repair reflects something larger, a mindset shaped by constraint, where survival depends not on abundance, but on ingenuity. The roots of this reality can be traced back to the Cuban Revolution, led by Fidel Castro. In the years that followed, Cuba adopted a socialist system that aimed to create equality across society. Education and healthcare became widely accessible, and the state took on a central role in organizing daily life. For many, this brought stability and a sense of shared structure. But history is rarely simple. Alongside these changes came decades of economic isolation, shaped in part by external pressures and internal limitations. Trade restrictions reduced access to global markets, technology, and consumer goods. Over time, this created a system where everyday life required constant adaptation. What might be considered basic elsewhere became valuable here. What might be replaced elsewhere was repaired and reused. And yet, despite these constraints, Cuba is not defined only by limitation. It is defined by spirit. In the streets, music is not scheduled. It is spontaneous. Rhythms emerge from open windows, from street corners, from small gatherings of people who carry culture within them. Salsa, son, and other traditional sounds are not performances. They are expressions of identity. People dance not to escape reality, but to live within it more fully. This emotional resilience is deeply tied to the social fabric. Cuban society places strong emphasis on relationships. Families often live close to one another, generations sharing space, time, and responsibility. Neighbors know each other. Conversations happen naturally, without urgency. In a world increasingly defined by distance and digital interaction, Cuba retains a sense of closeness that feels almost rare. But beneath this warmth, challenges remain constant. Economic hardship is not an abstract concept. It is part of daily decision-making. Access to food, transportation, electricity, and basic goods can fluctuate. People adjust their routines around what is available, not what is ideal. This creates a life that is unpredictable yet strangely grounded. For younger generations, this reality brings questions. Through expanding internet access and limited but growing global exposure, they begin to see alternatives, different lifestyles, different systems, different possibilities. With this awareness comes a quiet tension, the desire to explore, to move forward, to experience more. balanced against the weight of history, identity, and belonging. Cuba, as a nation, stands in this delicate space, between continuity and change. Recent years have made this balance even more visible. Economic pressures have increased, influenced by global instability, reduced tourism, and internal structural challenges. Power outages have become more frequent. Prices rise while incomes remain constrained. These realities test the limits of resilience. And yet, resilience remains, not as a slogan, but as a lived experience. People continue to gather in public spaces, to share stories, to find humor in difficulty. There is an unspoken understanding that while circumstances may not always improve quickly, life itself must continue. This mindset does not ignore hardship. It coexists with it. Tourism adds another layer to this complexity. Visitors often see the beauty, the architecture, the music, the energy. But behind that surface lies a deeper reality. For some, tourism provides opportunity. For others, it highlights inequality. The challenge for Cuba is not just to grow, but to grow without losing what makes it distinct. Because Cuba is not simply a place, it is a perspective. It challenges the assumption that progress must always look a certain way. It questions the idea that speed equals success, or that accumulation equals happiness. In Cuba, life unfolds differently, not because it refuses to change, but because it changes at its own pace. And perhaps this is where its true significance lies, in reminding us that a meaningful life is not always built on ease or efficiency, that struggle does not eliminate joy, and that limitation does not erase identity. On its quiet beaches, along its worn yet colorful streets, and inside homes where laughter still echoes despite everything, Cuba reveals something subtle yet powerful. That life is not defined only by what is available, but by how it is experienced. And in the end, the story of Cuba is not about perfection. It is about endurance. It is about a society that continues to move forward, even when the path is uncertain. It is about people who create meaning, even when resources are limited. It is about finding balance in a world that rarely slows down. In a time where everything moves faster, louder, and more intensely, Cuba offers a quiet contrast. A reminder that not everything valuable can be measured, that not everything meaningful needs to be new, and that not every life needs to follow the same direction. Because beyond the history, beyond the challenges, beyond the visible contradictions, there is a deeper truth. That life, at its core, is not about having everything, but about understanding what truly matters. And perhaps, in that understanding, there is a different kind of freedom.